pirate boat tries to board the vessel. And that's the response from the private security on board. The first one fails.
Where's he at? Where's he at?
But there's a second pirate boat.
He's all the way up! All the way up!
It perhaps wisely decides to disengage.
Skip, second skip.
28 speedboats. 300 yards. The first RPG punches a 4-foot crater beside a hold packed with artillery shells and javelins, enough that a magazine cook-off could mimic 30,000 pounds of TNT. You clicked for the gunfight. You'll stay for the math. In the next minutes we break down the 10-minute abyss, how USS Meridian's 20mm and the Providence's damage control kept steel, fuel, and fuses from becoming a fireball. And how an MQ-9 Reaper turned chaos into a firing solution. You'll see what stopped the chain reaction, and what almost didn't. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. If one RPG can open the hull, what stops 50,000 rounds from turning a cargo hold into a blast furnace? At contact, 28 skiffs knifed into around 300 yards. The first RPG hit hard, 4 feet of torn steel beside a bay stacked with artillery shells and anti-armor missiles. Both ships went from transit to full fight in seconds. Engines roared up. General quarters snapped. The Providence faced a bleeding hull near live ordnance. The Meridian angled to take the outer ring and hold space. The attackers didn't come to talk. They came to strip a moving arsenal. Skiffs split into wedges, firing RPG. G7s to force the ships to flinch, then poured PKM and DSHK fire at sensors, bridge wings, and deck guns. Their aim point wasn't random steel, it was the neighborhood around the magazine. Spray the area with heat and sparks, seed panic, and hope one lick of flame reached fuses stacked below decks. You could feel the logic, scare the defense, force mistakes, and ride the chaos to the cargo. Meridian answered with close-in doctrine built for knife fight ranges. 20mm cannons set the outer wall, short bursts to saw open hulls and stop engines without throwing lead past the Providence's wounded side. Gunners on crew-served mounts kept a second ring, crossing fires into lanes that skiffs had to use if they wanted to close. The arcs were tight, disciplined. No friendly rake. No ego shots. The goal was geometry. Carve corridors, then erase anything inside them. But steel alone doesn't save ammunition. Providence's damage control teams turned wrenches into weapons. They sealed the hit compartment and its neighbors. Shoring went up to hold the frame. Flood sensors got eyes on water lines. Pumps spun to pull any seepage down and out. Hot work halted within reach of that bay. Power routes were checked and rerouted to avoid arcs. Diesel spills were chased with foam and blankets. Their mission was simple: deny fire its oxygen, deny heat its pathway, deny sparks a place to land. Overhead, an MQ-9 stitched the fight together. Thermal picked up hot outboards in the clutter, counted clusters, and flagged the boats trying to slip behind radar shadows. Wide-area video tracked headings and speed changes that marked a push versus a feint. The drone fed bearings and timing to the gun crews, gave early calls on pincer moves, and caught the skiffs trying to ghost in on the wake. Noise became a map. That meant fewer surprises and cleaner shots. Here's the ammo math without the math. One shell baking off can be contained. If fire spreads, you don't get a boom, you get a wave, heat jumps bulkhead to bulkhead, fuses go sympathetic, and now you're fighting a schedule, not a flame. Distance buys seconds. Steel walls and sealed doors by minutes. Those minutes are the battle. Hold the perimeter long enough, and damage control wins. Lose the perimeter, and the fire writes the plan. Boats began to die in pairs. Meridian stitched the outer skiffs until they slewed, then Providence's topside guns clipped the stragglers that bled through. Burning wrecks turned into floating roadblocks. Debris forced follow-on attackers into fixed alleys the gunners already owned. The more metal in the water, the easier the prediction. By the fifth kill, the geometry favored the defense. Lines tightened. Ammo discipline held. The arc stayed clean. The perimeter held. Several skiffs burned or drifted, their fire slackening into noise. Providence's fire boundaries stayed intact, the crater remained a scar, not a doorway. The attackers had numbers and nerve because the cargo promised payoff down a pipeline, steel and electronics that feed markets far from this water. They got close because the detection window was short and crowded by sea clutter, about 3 football fields worth of water before the first burst. The systems that mattered on their side were simple and brutal, RPG-7s, PKMs, DSHKs. The answer on ours was a layered wall, tight drills, and an unmanned eye that kept heads up. With the sea fight stabilized and the magazines safe for now, the same sensor net that drew tracks on the water swung its gaze to shore. The trail runs inland, warehouses, brokers, and a ledger that explains why so many guns showed up to take one ship. Minutes decided it. Perimeter fire kept skiffs outside the red zone, sealed doors turned a torn hull into a contained wound, and one unmanned eye gave rhythm to every trigger pull. That is the margin between a crater and a chain reaction. If you want more hard, tactical breakdowns of real fights and the systems that decide them, subscribe and comment your choice below: perimeter guns, damage control, or the drone. What was the decisive edge? I read every call. The sea wasn't the boundary, it was the fuse. Next, we go ashore to trace the money, the warehouses, and the network that lit it.